is going to give me a plus 6. Gonna give me a... Hello, welcome to this episode where we shall be looking at the mathematics P.1 for how to September 2023. Okay, so question number 1, we have 2x plus 1 squared minus 4 is equal to 1. So my quick way of doing this would have been moving the 4 to the right. That I have 2x plus 1 is equal to 4. Then I find square roots. Okay, so the square root will kill this the 2. Then I have plus minus the 2. I remove the 1 to the right, so 2x is equal to plus minus 2 minus 1. Then divide through by 2. Okay, so my x, the first one, will be a plus 2 minus 1. That's going to be 1 over 2. Or if I use the negative side, negative 2 minus 1, that's negative 3 over 2. So those are the two solutions that we need for question number 1.1.1. Then 1.1.2, we need to create a standard equation. So I'll have 4x squared plus 12x minus 11 is equal to 0. Now, whenever they ask us to give our answers to decimal places, we definitely have to use the quadratic formula. Yeah. Now, when you look at the quadratic formula, we're going to be having 4x squared minus 11. Okay, we say plus 12x is equal to 0. So that's 4x squared plus 12x minus 11 is equal to 0. So our A is a 4. Our B is a 12, and then our C is negative 11. When we substitute, we know that x is equal to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So our b is at negative 12, so our b is at 12, so we substitute with negative 12. And this is 12 squared minus 4. The a is a 4, this is negative 11 over 2 times 4. You have the right to simplify whatever is under the root sign and then get the answer. So my first x value is going to be negative 3.74, or x can be 0.74. So those are the two values that we expected. All right. Then when we move on, 1.1.3 is the inequality question. So create a standard. So it's going to be negative 9x squared plus 15x minus a 4 is less than 0. I'm moving the 9x to the left. Then I can divide through by negative just to make sure that this is a positive. So I'm going to have 9x squared minus 15x plus a 4. The inequality symbol must change now to greater. Okay, then from there, I can just open my brackets. Okay, I'll have 3x. This is 3x. Since this is a negative, sorry, it's a positive, I'll have 4 and 1. If I use negatives, I have a positive 4. This is a negative 3 and a negative 12 being 15. So that's fine. So my critical values are going to be 4 over 3, or basically a third. Now, since my inequality has switched to greater, so even my representation of the values or the solutions is going to change. So my solutions are going to be x has to be less than 1 over 3, or x is greater than 4 over 3. So that's how I represent it. For people that want to draw the, what do you call it? The parabolas, you can quickly do that, and you have something like that. And then you have the 1 over 3, and then the 4 over 3 last side. Okay, so 1.1.4. 1.1.4. So 1.1.4, I'm seeing the square roots. But we have two expressions or two terms that have the root signs, which is kind of a bit tricky. But it's fine. Let me write this side. I think I'm going to need quite a lot of space. So the question says the square root of 2x minus 2 minus the square root of 7 minus 2x is equal to 1. Okay. So what I can start with, I can square both sides since the root signs have already been isolated. Okay. It's more like having any square brackets, a minus b squared. I can apply the FOIL. So I'll say this squared and then that squared. So this multiplied by that, the root sign is going to fall out. Then, remember when I'm opening this, I'll have a 2ab summation. So I'll have a minus 2 and then these two multiplied together. Okay, so when I multiply these two together, since they both have the root signs, it's as good as me having 2x minus 2 and then 7 minus 2x. And then lastly, for the last part squared, I'll have plus 7 minus 2x is equal to 1. Okay. And then from there, what do I need to do? I need to open up my brackets. This has to be under the root sign. Because I'm multiplying both of them. Okay, so when I open this, I'm going to have 2x. Now let me just cancel this and I cancel that. This 7 and this 2, I'll have a 5. Minus 2, the root of, let me open this up, 2x and 7. I'm going to have 14x. This and that, I'll have minus 4x squared. That and that is minus 14. This and this is plus 4x is equal to 1. Okay. And then what do I need? Let me move the 5 to that side so that I have negative 2 with the root and simplify what is there. So this and that is going to give me 18x minus 4x squared minus 14 is equal to negative 4. I can square both sides so that I get rid of the root again. Okay. So the root goes, but these two have fixed the negative 2. I'll end up with just a 4 into negative 4x squared plus 18x minus 14 is equal to 16. Divide both sides by 4. So over 4, then over 4. I have negative 4x squared plus 18x minus 14. We can move this one actually that side. The result we get, so which is a minus 1 is equal to 0. Negative x squared plus 18x minus 18 is equal to 0. Okay, can divide through by negative 2. But I have 2x squared minus 9x. I divide through by negative 2. I'll get a positive 9 is equal to 0. Okay. Then from here, I can do the factors. Okay, so if that is a 2x, this is going to be x. And I can use the raise minus sign since my product here is a positive. So either my x is going to be a 3 over 2, or my x is going to be a 3. Okay, so that's what I'm getting. But then remember, with such questions, you always need to test the left-hand side and then the right-hand side. So let's say I have my 2x minus 2. I'm subtracting the square root of 7 minus 2x is equal to 1. So I'm going to test with each of these numbers on the left and on the right, and see whether I get the same thing as that which is on the right. Okay, so if I use 3/2, if I put a 3/2 here, I'm just going to have 3 minus 2, which will give me 1. Then minus, if I put a 3/2 here, that's going to be 7 minus 3, which is a 4. Square root of 4 is going to be a 2. The 1 minus 2 gives me -1, which is not a 1. So I can take this solution out. It's not applicable. Let me try with the 3. That's going to be 2 times 3, which is a 6. 6 minus that is a 2. Now 6 minus 2 is a 4. Square root of 4 is a 2. And then when I move to this bracket, 7 minus 3, 2 times 3/2, that is 7 minus 4, which is a, what is going on? I do a minus 2. Let's see. We know that 7 minus something is not right. It's 7 minus 2x. So if this is a 3, it's saying 2 times 3/2. That's a -3, which is a +4. And then 4 square root of 4 is going to be a 2. Can we go back to the first one? That's 2 times 3/2 minus 2. This cancels that. We have that. What am I doing? We're using 3 here. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm still using the 3/2. Okay, so let's use 3, because it is 2 times 3, which is a 6. 6 minus that, which is 4 square root of 4, it's giving us a 2. Minus 2 minus 2 times 3, which is a 6 square root of, that is a 6, subtract the square root of 1, which is a 1. So 1 is a correct solution. Okay. Then we move on to the next part. Solve the following equations simultaneously. This is weird. We have the log a plus 5 base 2 is equal to 3. So the quick approach is to first start with this log expression or equation. Okay. From our functions, when you're writing the inverses and what, we need to at least know how to move from log form, okay, let's say exponential. So how would this work? So it will be the same as P is equal to A to the exponent of C. So this is going to be A plus 5 is equal to 2 to the exponent of 3. We know that 2 to the exponent of 3 is 8. Then 2 to the exponent of 3 is going to be 8. And then we need to move the 5 to the, okay, I have A plus 5 is equal to 8. Move the 5 that side, which means A is a 3. So if A is a 3, then I just need to substitute where there is A back into the first equation. So this is like my equation 1, and then this is my equation 2. So I use the equation 2 to determine the A, which is a 3. Okay, so I'm just gonna write it beside 1.2. Okay, so we have A squared B squared minus 2AB minus 8 is equal to 0. Remember, A is a 3. So it's like 3 squared with a B squared minus 2 times 3 with a B minus 8 is equal to 0. So that is 9B squared minus 6B minus 8 is equal to 0. So it's your choice to either use the vectors or to use the quadratic formula. So if I try to use If I try to use the vectors, what do I end up with? Okay, so in this case, is it gonna make sense? I'm gonna try to use the vectors. It's going to be 3b and 3b. You can have a 2 and I can have a 4 to give me 8. Okay, if I put a plus here, it's gonna make sense. No, that's not, that can be a plus. If I use a minus in this case, then I use a plus. That's 9. That's gonna be minus 12 plus 6 minus 6, that minus 8. So which means B is gonna be negative 2 over 3, or B is just gonna be 4 over 3. Okay, so that's what I'm getting. Our A, we said was just a 3. And then the B is that. Okay, so that's how I would have thought about that question. I know the log might have been the deal breaker. 1.3. If P is this, for which values will this be real? So from our nature of roots, we say that the discriminant must be greater than 0 for the roots to be real. And in this case, our discriminant is basically what we are finding under the root signs. Okay. So scenario number 1, I'm going to say x plus 2 must be greater than 0. Then this gives me x being greater than 2. That is the first condition. Then when I look at the second discriminant of the 16 minus x squared is greater than 0. So I'm going to say 16 minus x squared is greater than 0. So this is a difference of 2 squares. So I can have 4 minus x, and then 4 plus x is greater than 0. So in this case, our critical values are basically plus 4 and then minus 4. So how do I represent this? Since this is a greater and my A is a negative, so I'm gonna have negative 4 is less x, and then it's less than 4. So that's how I would have gone about with that question, 1.3. All right, so that's question number 1. Number 2, they're telling us below is an arithmetic. So with arithmetic, remember, we have one common difference. Okay, we want us to get the value of P. So we're going to say if we have 1 minus P, 2P minus a 3, and then a P plus 5. Let's get the difference. This to be our difference 1, and then the difference 2. So difference 1 has to be the same as difference 2. Okay, so 2P minus 3, I'm subtracting. I'll say 1 minus P must be equal to P plus 5 minus 2P minus 3. When I open this up, I have a 2P minus 3 minus 1 plus a P is equal to P plus 5 minus 2P plus a 3. This and that is a 3P minus 4. This and that, I'm having 8 minus P. I'll move the P to the left. So I have a 4P is equal to 12. Is that true? 12P is equal to 12, then divide both sides by 4. So which means P is a 3. P is a 3. I don't know, let's try substitute and see if we're gonna get a, so the first term is going to be negative 2. Okay, that's negative 2. The second term, that is 6 minus 3 is 3. The third term is that which is 8. So plus 5 is that, plus 5 is that. Now I think we good to go. Okay, so P is a 3. Then they want the first term. So with the first term, just say 1 minus a 3, which is negative 2. Okay, and then the common difference, remember, it's a 5. That's a 5. We just substituted it just right now. And so, okay, then explain why none of the numbers in the arithmetic are perfect squares. Now, one thing we need to know is that if we look at, let's say, the Tn of this thing, this sequence, it's going to be -2 plus n minus 1 times 5. When we open this up, we're going to have 5n. That's a -5 minus that with the -7. Okay, so this is the general Tn. Now, whenever we talk about perfect squares, these are numbers that are basically going to end with a 0, 1, 4, 5, 6, and 9. Okay, these are the numbers. Okay, in other words, perfect squares end with that set of numbers. But now, if whatever we have in is being subtracted by 7, okay, it's being decreased by 7, then it's very hard for us to get a perfect square in this sense. It's very hard. Remember, the perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, and so on and so forth. Okay. So in this case, we're saying because of the -7, because when you subtract, it's either you're gonna get a 2 or n of those numbers. But you can't get a 9 when you subtract something from 7. 6, gonna be a bit hard. 5, and so on. Because if, for us to get a 5, number has to be ending with something like a 9 or so. Okay. Number has to be a 2 or something. So the explanation would be first get the Tn and then tell us the effect that the -7 plays on whatever number it is. Because 5 multiplied by a number, you're dealing with the multiples of 5. Okay. Now, under the multiples of 5, we know the only perfect square there is 0.5. Okay, but now if you're reducing it again by 7, then you can't get any perfect squares. 2.2, they're telling us the following forms a quadratic. Okay, so with a quadratic, we know we have two differences. They're telling us that the first difference in capital letters, the first differences of the above also forms a sequence, which is the arithmetic. Now they want us to get the expression for the general term of the first differences, which is the Tn of the arithmetic. So what we need to do, we need to determine that first difference. Okay, so -3, we have a -2, we have a -3, we have a -6, and -11. So this and that is going to give us a 1. Okay, this and that and give us -1. Okay, so subtract this and that, we get to -3. This and that, so that plus that, we get to -5. So when we look at this, that's a -2, a -2, and then a -2. So our common difference is -2, but then our first term is a positive one. So from the Tn formula, we know that a plus n minus 1 into d. Okay, so that's a 1 plus n minus 1 into -2. Open that up, we're going to have -2n plus 2 plus 1. And what does that give us? -2n plus a 3. That's what I'm getting for the Tn of 2.11. Then calculate the first difference between 35th term and then the 35th term of the quadratic. Now, right from the general term that we obtained, this is what we're going to use. Remember, term number 1 of the arithmetic is between T1 and T2. Term number 2 is between T2 and T3, which means term number 35 of the arithmetic is going to be between 35 and 36. So you're going to say -2 times the 35 plus a 3. So that's -70 plus 6 plus 3, which gives us -67. Okay. Then 2.2.3, they want an expression for the nth term. So with the nth term, since we have our second difference, we shall say 2a is going to be equal to -2, divide both sides by 2, which means a is -1. Then with the 3a plus b, I'll equate it to 1, which is the first term of first differences. So if there is -1, then b is going to end up to be a 4. And then a plus b plus c must give me, what is that first term? It's -3. Okay. So now if a is -1 plus a 4, that's going to be a 3. When I move it that side, c becomes a -6. So which means my Tn in this case is going to be, remember, it's meant to be the form of an squared plus bn plus a c. So it's going to be -n squared plus 4n minus 6. Okay, so that is our Tn. And then 2.2.4 show that the sequence will never contain a positive term. So that the sequence will never contain a positive term. Okay, so with the positive term, we're seeing that these negatives are basically decreasing. They keep on decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. So if I try to get, let's say, the turning point, because we know this is a parabola that is moving that kind of shape, then we try to get the turning point. That's negative b over 2a. So -4 over 2a, which gives me, this is a -1. So -4 over 2 times -1, which gives me a 2. The turning point is at a 2. Then when I try to substitute that, plus 4 times a 2 minus a 6. Let me see, negative, but 2 squared plus, that is 8 minus 6. So my turning point is at -2. Okay, so if the turning point is at negative, which means this function can never go above the x-axis. So you can use this and you tell us that the turning point is 2 and -2, or the maximum point is -2. So it cannot go above the x-axis, and then it can never have a positive term. Okay, then question number 3. Question number 3. They're telling us that the sum Sn is given us 4n squared plus 1. They want us to get T6. So one thing we said under the discussion of the prediction, for as long as you're given a scenario of this nature, okay, for us to get T6, you need the sum of the first 6 terms minus the sum of the first 5 terms. So I'm just going to substitute here. So I'll say 4 into 6 squared plus 1 minus 4 into 5 squared plus a 1. Okay, let me just punch that in. 4 times 6 squared plus a 1, I'm getting 145. Okay, I'm subtracting 4 times 5 squared plus a 1, I'm getting 101. So 145 minus 101, I end up with 44. So T6 is a 44. Then 3.2, for which values of x will the following series converge? So the condition for series to converge is -1 less r less 1. Okay, so the r has to be between -1 and a +1. So what is our r from here? You can see we have 4x minus 3, then 4x minus 3 squared, which means our r is simply 4x minus 3. It was just the y-intercept was going to make sense, at x. So when I first multiply, I'm going to have 3x plus 9 is equal to 12. Move the 9 that side, 3x is equal to 3, which means x is a 1. They want the x-intercept. So it will be 1 and a 0. Okay. Then 4.6, they want me to sketch. They want me to sketch the G. Showing all the intercepts and all of that. Okay, let me just sketch it here. If that is my Y, yes, I'm sorry, I apologize in advance for this. That is X. Then let me try to pull the asymptotes. Remember our asymptotes? We're -3. Is that true? -3 and -3 over 2. So -3 can be somewhere here. Okay. And then the -3 over 2 is going to be somewhere here. 3 over 2 negative. Okay. Then we say the X is a 1. So that's a 1. And then if X is a 0, what is this thing going to become? That's a 0, is going to be, so that is 6 over -3, but I'm subtracting 3 over 2. I'm getting -3. Wow. That's making sense. That's making sure. That's making sure. So let's see. It's not complete sense. So did our one make sense? One, did you resonate with our answer? Let me see. X plus 3. I have the one. No, the X intercept is correct, but if I replace this with a 0, that's going to be a 2. Okay. -3 over 2, which gives me a half. Yes, makes sense. It's a half, which means this graph must pass through a half. I don't know, somewhere there. And then let this move, pass through. Because it's first quadrant, and then this other arm must just be drawn towards the asymptotes. So that's what you have to do for question number 4.6. Then they want the axis of symmetry of G with a negative gradient. So remember what we said with axis of symmetry, Y is -x plus C. So the point of intersection of the asymptotes is -3 and then -3 over 2. Let's substitute that. So -3 over 2 is equal to negative and -3 plus a C. Let's move this 3 to the left-hand side. So -3 over 2, hello, I said -3 over 2 plus a 3. That's giving me 3 over 2 again. How? Because should be making sense. Because when I replace the X, it's a negative. Okay. Did I do something wrong? Where there is Y, I'm putting -3 over 2. Where there is X, I'm putting that. This is going to be positive. Yeah, it's my problem. We're subtracting. Because the positive, we're going to subtract -3 over 2 minus 3. Okay, so which means it's -9 over 2 in that case. So which means our K is -9 over 2. So that line must be moving in this sort of direction. Then for which values of X? For which values of X is J greater than the axis of symmetry? So if our line is just here in this sort of order, okay, that is our H, where do we find G to be above? So you can see that the only part that is above G is this arm. And it happens when X is greater than -3. So I'll just say X is greater than -3. Then G is reflected about the X-axis, okay. They want us to get the equation. So when you reflect something about the X-axis, the whole Y changes. In other words, this whole thing needs to be multiplied by the negative sign. So which means the y is going to be negative 6 over x plus 3 plus the 3 over 2. So that would be the 4.9. Okay, so guys, that's that with question number 4. Question number 5, functions. So they're telling us that f of x is given as this. So this format of the parabola is what we call the turning point method. Okay, where 7 over 2 represents the turning point and even the 81 over 4. Graphs of f and g intersect at points D and B. There we go. Let me just try to make that a bit small. Okay, so what is the first question asking for? They want the coordinates of the turning point. Wow. I'll just put it here, 5.1. So we say 7 over 2 positive, then 81 over 4. As simple as that, right from here. Change the sign to positive, and then you have that. Because you can even see that the turning point is on the positive x. Okay, 5.2, they want us to get the average gradient between x1 and x5. So when they ask for average gradient, we're gonna use the same, but we need to declare the y value. So if x is a 1, okay, what is our y value? A is the x coordinate of D. Where is D? Let's see. So when you look at D, this is a point of intersection between F and G. So at this point, both graphs are equal. So it's the same as saying f of x is the same as g of x. We solve this simultaneously. Let me just do this. I'll have negative. And let me open this up. That's gonna give me x squared. Okay. And I open that up. It's gonna give me minus 7x. 7 over that is gonna be 49 over 4. Plus 81 over 4 should be equal to 3x plus a 24. So I'm going to just regroup or simplify further. When I open this, I'll have a positive x squared plus 7x. That's a negative 49 over 4 minus 3x minus a 24 is equal to 0. Okay. So that is x squared, this and that is giving me a plus 4x. Then when I simplify these others, minus 49 over 4 plus 81 over 4. Okay, and then that gives me minus 16 is equal to 0. Okay, so it's a quadratic that again need to solve where I get two values. If I use my factors, x and x, should I use 8 and 4, 8 and 4, so 8 and 2? It's gonna make sense. If I make this negative. It's going to make sense. We do everything right. Make this a plus. This and that is minus 2. This is gonna give me a plus 6. Gonna give me a plus 6. Which means there's something I put wrong. Let me check my signs. Oh, sorry, that's a minus. If that's a minus, then this is a plus, then this is a 10. And if it's a 10, I open this up. And I need to check my signs also. I need to check my signs again. Yes. What's going on? What's going on? Let's go back. Let's go back and reopen this thing. I can't wait this. Never. Let's see what we did wrong. F of x is the same as g of x. Does it make sense? Then you have to repeat the process. Repeat the process. Okay. So we're saying negative x minus 7 over 2 squared plus 81 over 4 is equal to negative 3x plus 24. If I use my FOIL, x minus 7 over 2 and x minus 7 over 2, that's going to be x squared minus 7 over 2 and 7 over 2. That's going to give me a minus 7. This and that is going to give me a positive 49 over 4. So when I open, it's going to be a negative x squared plus a 7x minus 49 over 4 plus 81 over 4 is equal to minus 3x plus a 24. Okay, let's see. It's negative x squared. Yeah, I think I see where I went wrong. That's a 10x. So minus 49 over 4. Same plus 81. Same plus 81. And then we're subtracting the 24. That's a negative 16. Is equal to 0. So when I divide through by the negative, that's where the game changer is. Yes. Got you. Okay, so that's going to be x squared minus 10x plus a 16 is equal to 0. Then we can use the 8 and 2. So x, 8, x, and the 2. Let's use the minus. So x is either 8 or x is a 2. So when I look at the 2 points where the line is meeting, we have this, and then you have this meant to be the smaller value, which is 2. So we're going to say A is a 2. Okay, then they're telling us that point S, which is X and Y, is a point on the graph F where A, remember A is a 2, no? So it's between that interval of the line. Line ST is drawn. Now from the graph, determine the length ST in terms of X. So for us to get the distance between the two, we need to look at which graph is on top, which is the F. And then the one that's below is G. Let's subtract both of them. Okay, so I'll use the simplified format. Okay, which is, I think it's that. Isn't it? Yeah. Just gonna say negative x squared plus 10x minus 16. That's your ST. I mean, we got it already because we said f of x minus the g of x. Don't equate it to 0. First, subtract the 2. That's what we just did. Okay, so I don't need to redo that. Then they're asking us for the maximum. So this is just the application of calculus. For us to get maximum, we need to find the derivative. Okay, so we're going to say the first derivative is going to be negative 2x plus a 10 must be equated to 0. Take the 10 that side, so 2x is equal to negative 10, divide both sides by negative 2, x becomes 5. So that is question number 5. Question number 6, we have the exponential, which never misses. So graph below is x, sketch below P is that, which is a point on F. Okay, so what do they want us to do? They want the inverse. So remember inverse, you just have to use log. And then we're done. Then they want us to sketch one, the inverse. Let's start with the inverse. So we know that point Q is a 1. So that point is like 0 and 1. So when I switch it, it's going to be 1 and 0. This point P is gonna be 1 over 3 and then negative 1. So 1 over 3 somewhere, negative 1 is below. So the inverse is just gonna be something like that. Okay, I'll call that F inverse. Then they also want us to sketch the shifted inverse 2 units to the right. Okay, so if this is a 1, we shift 2 units, then that's going to be a 3. Let me use a different color for the inverse. Okay, so which means the inverse is just going to be in that format after shifting it. And then we're going to call this F negative 1, X plus 2. So that's how the graph will look like. All right, so use your graphs to solve X if the log, okay, is less than 1. So the question we need to ask ourselves, that from the original, the log 3x is less than, where do we find the inverse to be below 1? So if the inverse is below 1, remember this one is representing the y. So let me go to the original graph, okay, that says f of x is equal to 3 to the x. So if I'm looking at f of, which is a 3. So if, is that true? If x and the y is going to be a 3. Okay. But then with the inverse, if x is a 3, y is going to be a 1. Okay, that is a 1. That is x is a 3. Y is going to be 1. So if I translate this one back to here, remember I'm shifting this 3 2 units to the right. Why am I putting this as a negative? Or a positive? It's meant to be negative. So 2 units, that's going to be point number 5. So 5 is going to give me a 1. So where do I find the graph of inverse below 1? I find it below 1 at a point where x is a 5. Okay. So I'm going to say that, why am I saying 0? It has to be 1. Is less x, is less 5. Because this graph cannot pass through 1. That's going to be its asymptote. Is it an asymptote? Yeah, it's asymptote. Okay, so that's question number 6. Finance. Telling us in December 2015, we determined that 5.7 million people living with HIV of the compound growth or exponential growth to determine but there will be 6 million people living with the disease in 2022. Calculate the percentage. So they want us to get the R. Okay. So we know that our A is going to be 6 million. Our P is just going to be 5.5 million. No, it's 5.7. Why am I sticking to the 5? It's a 7. Okay, so that's 5.7. Our N. 2022 minus 2015, that's like 7 years. Okay. Then just substitute into this formula. I have 6 is equal to 5.7 into 1 plus I to the exponent of 7. Divide both sides by 5.7, which is 20 over 19. So 20 over 19 is equal to 1 plus I to the exponent of 7. On either sides, I get rid of that. So now I find the 7th root of 20 over 19. That gives me 1,00735 is equal to 1 plus I. Move the one that side, you're gonna have 0,00 multiplied by 100. So that is giving me our I of 0.7. Let's say 35% if I'm rounding it up to 3 decimals. Yeah, that's what I get. Then if it's 2, then it's 0.74%. 7.2, they're telling us that Shimi invests 4 million into an account that is earning 6% per annum compounded monthly. She withdraws 30,000 rands per month. So the first withdrawal is exactly 1 month after she posted the money. How many withdrawals of 30,000 are we going to make? So with this kind of question, we're going to use the present value. Why? Because this one is more like her. Okay, she's taking it out. More like a loan that she's kind of paying back to herself. The P as our 4 million. Our X is 30,000. Our I is 6%. They want us to get the N. Okay. So I'm going to, I have space on the, so I'm going to use this page and write down the present value formula. That is X into 1 minus 1 plus I to the exponent of negative N over R. So we said 4 million. Okay, is equal to our X, which is 30,000 into 1 plus the I, which is said 6%. That we compounding it monthly. That's it. Yes, to the exponent of negative N over 6% over 12. So step number 1, I'm just going to multiply and divide both sides by the 30,000. Okay, so when I do that, I'll have 400 over 3. And then I'm going to multiply by the 6% over 12. I'll be just left with this bracket. And plus, let me just write that with a negative. Okay, so that we say we're multiplying by 6 over 12. That gives us 2 is equal to 1 plus. When I simplify that small bracket to 6 over 12, I'm getting 1,005 to the negative N. So move the one that side, so 2 over 3. I'm subtracting the 1. That's give me negative a third. When I move this one that side, negative a third is equal to 1,005 to the exponent of negative N. And then I'll introduce my logs. Negative third is equal to negative N, the log of 1,005. Alternatively, I can just make this as a base so that I have log, okay, of the same base, and then I have my negative 1 over 3 is equal to negative N. So divide both sides, so negative N is equal to negative a third over the log of 1,005. Okay, we should get a negative answer, 1,005, using the second. Okay. I'm getting, I do everything correct because not even let's see. This is negative something. Must show the calculations. Okay, so still from the present, it's X into 1 minus 1 plus I to the exponent of negative N over I. So 4 million is equal to now 20,000 into 1 minus 1 plus the 6% over 12 to the negative N over 6% over 12. Okay. At P, which is 3 and -10 to this curve, okay, intersects the x-axis at a point R. Then line PT is drawn perpendicular to the x-axis with this and determine the length RT. So for me to interpret this question, let me just try to refresh my page so that I get space to that. Okay, so when I look at the graph Y, okay, this graph of mine, that's a parabola. Okay, which parabola is having a front face and passing through -1. If I was just to sketch it. They're telling me point P is a 3 and -10. Let me take this to be a P. They're telling me it's a tangent. Okay, if that's a tangent, they're telling me it intersects the y-axis at point R. Okay, then a line PT is drawn. PT. There is a line there, which is PT, perpendicular to the x-axis with T on the x. So that is a T, that's a 90. Okay, so if this is a 3 and -10, which means this point T is also 3 and a 0. They want me to determine the length RT. So for me to get RT, I need to find the coordinates of R. For me to get the coordinates of R, I need the equation of PR. So I'll start by finding the y dx, okay, which is going to be -2x. Okay, so now this -2x is the equation of the gradient at any point on this curve. But then if x is 3, okay, so I'll say if y prime of 3 is -2 times 3, which means the gradient is -6 at this point P. Then I'm going to use the point 3 and -10 and find the equation of the tangent. So I'll say y minus -10 is equal to -6 into x minus 3. I'll open up y plus 10 is equal to -6x plus 18, which means y is -6x plus 8. That is my equation of the tangent. Now, if that is the equation of the tangent, I need to find the R, which is the x-intercept. So for x-intercept, y is a 0. I'll replace y with a 0, -6x plus 8. I'll move the 6 that side, is equal to 8, divide both sides by 6, which means my x is just going to be a 4/3. So if that is a 4/3, and then this is a 3, they want us to get the distance. So for that distance, you just need to subtract since it's on the x-axis. So I'll say 3 minus 4/3. So that gives me 5/3 units. Okay, we say 3 minus 4/3, which is 5/3 units. So that is question number 9. Question number 10. Question number 10, the profit that was earned by a company that makes bicycles per week is given as that. What should be the weekly reduction be to maximize? So they want us to get the value of x where the profit is maximum. Okay, so this is under optimization. We need to find the first derivative. So that's going to be -3 over 150 x squared plus 6x minus a 250. I need to equate this to 0 and solve for x. So if I multiply through by 150, I'll have -3x. 6 times 150 is going to give me a 900x. And then 250 times 150 gives me 37,500 is equal to 0. You can divide through by -3. So x squared plus, that's minus, since we're dividing through by a negative. Okay, so that's a minus. 3 divided by that, which is a 300x. And then this divide by 3, I'm getting 12,500. Okay, 12,500 is equal to 0. Then I can gladly use my quadratic formula. Okay, so x is equal to negative b plus minus b squared minus 4c divided by 2a. So our b is a negative 300. So negative 300 will be a positive. Plus minus, that is 300 squared minus 4. Our a is a 1. Our c is a 12,500. Okay. So when I just substitute that into the quadratic formula, so minus 300 with x plus 12,500, what am I getting? Ending up with 50. So that is 2 times 1. So x is either 50 or x is a 250. Then I need to substitute these values back into the original to see what answers I get if I can make a decision on which x to take. So in this case, if I substitute a 50, okay, so if I get my 50, I'm just going to say W50 is going to give me a negative answer, which is 8533,33. And then I'm going to end up with 4.8. According to the calculator, I'm having 4.8. So we can see that from the 250 is giving us a bigger profit. So which means this company must produce 250 bicycles every week. Okay, question 11. Okay, so question 11, probability, they're telling us that the machine A and machine B, they are coin pressing machines that operate at the same time. Okay, probability of A only is X. That's probability of B only is 0.3, probability that both take the same time 0.1, and there's a Y. Then they're telling us that if A and B are independent. Now, one thing we know about independent events is that the product, okay, so in this case, we shall say probability of A times the probability of B must give us the intersection, which plus the 0.3 plus a Y should give us a 1. So this is a 0.4, 0.55 plus a Y should be a 1. And then move the 0.55 to the other side, then Y is going to be 0.45. So that is 11.1.1. Then they want us to determine the probability that exactly one of the machines is pressing the coins. Exactly one of the machines. So remember, our X was 0.015, and then the B alone is 3. So we just add the 2. 0.15 plus the 0.3, that gives us 0.45. And then 11.2. Let me just take this out. They're telling us that Wilson takes a driver's test. The probability that he will succeed on his first attempt is the, okay, so if I try to use a tree diagram, this is 3/7. This is going to be 4/7, because remember, we must end up with 1. So this is a pass, that's a fail. And then they're asking us for a probability that he will succeed after 2 attempts. So if this is the first attempt, the second attempt for him to succeed, because they told us that for each attempt he reduces, the probability increases to 3/5. So which means for him to pass, it's 3/5. And then for him to fail, it's going to be 2/5. And then if he fails the first test, for him to pass, it's going to be 3/5, and then fail. Pass or fail. Pass or fail. Pass or fail. Passing, passing, and passing. So it's 4 different options. Okay. So if you follow the branches, because the 3/5 and the 2/5 will remain. 3/5, 2/5. 3 over 5, 2 over 5, and so on. So which means I'm getting a 0.6 if I combine all of that. Then question number, they're telling us that this lady turned 8. Her friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So altogether, 7 people. They're invited to a birthday party. This person and the friends sat in a row and played a game. In how many ways can they be if they sit in alphabetical orders? Remember, they are 7. Okay, we can arrange alphabetically 7. But then I'm just going to multiply this by 2, since they say it's alphabetical order. So it's possible for you to start with the ascending or the descending part. So that is 14 for me. And then 12.1.2, they want us to get the probability that this lady and that lady do not want to sit together. Okay, so if they were to sit in any order, this would be the number of combinations or number of ways that we can arrange them, which is 50, 40. I'm going to use the 14. Okay. Then for Emily and Clara to sit together, because now that's what I want to use. If they were to sit together, okay, then I'll be looking at 6 factorial times the 2 factorial, because there will be 6 ways to arrange them, and then these 2 can easily switch. Okay. Now, what is the probability of them sitting together? Okay, probability we can make. Okay, so if there are any amendments that need to be made, please do advise. Thank you very much. Let's meet in